Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
So we should introduce you to the dungeon.
Hello.
So I have some bright colours in my dungeon, but it's a not very pleasant place for me to be. So there's no airflow, there's no air conditioning. So I've found the best spot in the house where I can block all the noise out, and that's what I've got to deal with. But today we have got Hayley Hepburn with us, aka the Grass Queen.
Yes, Queen. And if my hair's long enough, it's the ass Queen.
I bet your husband loves that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to bust in and join us for the interview, I'm sure. No.
He's in the spare room chilling in the aircon. Sorry, I don't want to rub it
Fair.
in that you're sweating in an airless
right.
dungeon. He's watching. So my husband and I, we like two different types of drag. He likes drag racing and I like drag queens. So we sit at opposite ends of the house, and I get to block out the screeching tires and he gets to block out the screeching drag queens.
Yeah, I'll join him with the drag racing rather than the drag queens, but fair enough.
Yeah. So, hello, I'm the Grass Queen.
Yes, welcome.
Your favourite lawn monarch.
Yeah. So, Hayley, thank you to you. I've just spoken with your friend, Jenny Brissett.
Yes.
And you actually recommended I talk to her, and I was recommended by Dirk Streefkirk to talk to you. So I was
there you go.
Okay.
It's a small world, isn't it?
This is good timing. And then you mentioned that you know Laura, who I interviewed a couple of months ago.
Yep.
So, yes, it's a very small world. It's the greater Sydney area where you all come from.
Well, yeah, like Western Sydney, mostly
Penrith.
in Laura's. But Jenny's about 10 minutes down the road, and so's Laura.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how I met Laura, but I was trying to think about it the other day, and the ADHD brain has just thrown that piece of information out somewhere.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, so actually, I am actually diagnosed with ADHD, so I'm not just throwing it around flippantly. I have got a million thoughts all at the same time. So
yeah, fair enough. So that'll make for an interesting interview. I did an interview back near the start of this podcast with a guy, Jared Bywater, and he was diagnosed Asperger's, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think they do that anymore, the diagnosis of Asperger's. But yeah,
no,
it was
an
interesting interview.
Stages of autism.
Yeah, well, they kept changing.
Asperger was a Nazi. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, they keep changing the diagnoses names or the goalposts for what it means to achieve a diagnosis. That doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if you're on the spectrum, some people are highly functional and some people are quite challenged by their diagnosis.
I'm highly functioning until I get home, and then I just derp on out hardcore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
Jenny.
I've never been diagnosed with anything myself, but I know that I have similar characteristics to a lot of people that are diagnosed, and so I may not be quite as far down that end of the spectrum as what some other people might be.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy technical skills, which is one of those trademarks of going, okay, if you're very highly technical and a good technician, fault finding, that sort of thing, you're going to be my friend.
yeah, it's the pattern recognition sort of thing, isn't it? And the troubleshooting.
But what I've found is I would end up doing technical roles like fault finding with computers. I was doing computer building and diagnostics and all that sort of thing when I finished school, and I worked on the sound and data team at church. So sound technicians are almost guaranteed to be on the spectrum.
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
Yeah. So what I found is that as I took on more leadership roles within those technical skills, the people side of it would wear me out really quickly.
That's what it is. That's why I went into business for myself. same
Yeah.
thing. I'm very good with short transactional people,
Yeah.
or very, very deep, like probably usually other people who have got ADHD or on the spectrum. I'm very good with that. But when it
Yeah.
comes to like workmates, I don't know, they just don't gel with me. And I think it is, like you said, like the fault finding, and we can probably do this better, and also I can be quite blunt, and I don't
Yeah.
realize until I've offended someone. And then usually by then, if I try and apologize, the damage is done, but
I
like, I'm
find
not mean.
if you explain to
I'm also late
people,
all the time, sorry. And I also butt into people's conversations.
yeah, me too. But I find if you explain to people beforehand that, I'm going to be a little bit blunt, or I'm going to be a little bit inappropriate at times, not intentionally inappropriate, but it's just the way that I communicate. It's not to be rude. That way
Yeah.
people appreciate you a little bit more, and they put up with it, and really enjoy your friendship at a different level than they would if you don't have that explanation. So
I think
yeah.
I've only been diagnosed with ADHD for the last 2 years. And
Yeah.
before that, I didn't really have the vocabulary to sit and like advocate for myself, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can say, hey, oh, I have a bug on me. I won't say that, or I would if I had a bug. But yeah, I can sort of advocate for myself and say, hey, I just sort of need a couple of minutes time out to just bring my Christmas light brain back and into a straight
Yeah.
line, and untangle it all, or
Yep.
makes it a lot easier.
I find when I'm surrounded by people and pressure, I thrive for a little while, and then I'm like, okay, I need to be alone in a padded dungeon.
It needs to be silent and not too hot and not too cold, and also I need something to fidget with. So currently I've got my scrunchie. So if you see
Okay,
my
yeah.
arms fidgeting under the table, I'm not doing anything naughty. I'm just fiddling with things.
Okay, that's
But yeah,
good. Good
that's
to
why I
know.
started Grass Queen. You mentioned
Yeah.
Jenny earlier.
Yeah.
So Jenny and I actually worked together previously at a different company that were doing a gardening sort of things.
Yeah.
And she left a bit before I did to start her
Yeah.
business. And I
Yeah.
stayed on. I did a leadership course through that previous employer, but it
Yeah.
turned a bit toxic, the workplace. There was a fair bit of
Yeah.
bullying, and
So you put up with the nonsense for a little bit longer than she did.
I did, because I'm a sucker. But then they got someone new in, and he was not the nicest. And
Yeah.
leadership, I tried to sort it out with him, but he had a problem with me. And I just thought, well, there's bigger and better out there than dealing with this little whatever's going
Yep.
on here. And I thought, well, I tried to change it. It's not going to
Yep.
change, so I'm going to bounce. And I was working in disability support and in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And doing Uber Eats deliveries.
Nice.
And then I met back up with Jenny and started working for her for a bit. And
Yeah.
she actually asked me to go into business with her.
Yeah. That'd be better
But
offer than working for Uber Eats.
I like my alone time. I really
Yeah.
like my alone time, and I just get
Yep.
to sit in my car and listen to podcasts for hours on end. But I was making about $200 a night, which was enough to get me by.
I can recommend some really good podcasts while you're doing that.
It's like this one.
Yeah. Aussie Lawn Stars. It's awesome.
I actually listen to it during the day when I'm on the tools.
Oh, thank you.
So I worked with Jenny for a couple months, just helping her out with Spade It Up. And she asked me to go and be her business partner, and I thought for a long time about it, because it's a really big decision,
It is. And partnering with another person in business it's challenging at the best of times. So you don't really want to ruin a friendship over it.
That's what I said to her, and we're both very strong personalities. It would be me coming into her already established business, which, like there's a power imbalance there already. And, with both of us having ADHD, there would be communication challenges, I would imagine. So I thought, for the sake of our friendship, I'd start up a sister company instead of be her business partner. And so we refer jobs onto each other and hype each other up out, because there's hundreds of thousands of lawns in Penrith alone. So
I've done
it's not
that
like
with a
we're in
friend
competition.
before too. I've had a friend who, because I was running a lawn care business, he decided he would do the same thing, and I helped him get started. And we would do jobs together occasionally. Like he would get a job and he'd say, come and help me do it, or I'd get a job and say, come and help me with this one.
Yeah. Or if I'm too busy or she's too busy, if she's sick or if I'm sick, we'll generally pick up important customers for each other. And it's she was pretty upset, I think, to start with.
Yeah.
And I understand because, I am the goat and she was losing the goat to to go to start my own business. But I think it was the right choice for our friendship.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I think it's worked out quite well. You both got successful businesses in your own right.
We're both killing it.
I've had a really good chat to Jenny, so I've got a fairly good understanding of what her business is like, but this is your time to shine. We want to find out more about your business and what that operates like. But before we go into depth with your business, I can see your face right now, and if people tune into Aussie Lawn Stars on YouTube, they'll be able to see it too. I'm going to hazard a guess from looking at you that you are between 33 and 36.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm 38.
There
I'm
you
38,
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've just got really good skin.
Yes,
and bad
of
lighting.
Course. That's all right. We can't see any sun damage there. If you have a close look at my face, you'll see some sun damage. But,
look, it's even more better. I'll just sit back. No.
Then we'll all get distracted by the window. So because I'm guessing your age there and you've revealed 38 years old, I'm going to say that you've been in business for a little while now yourself, but before that you were working for this other company. We don't have to name them, but I'm just getting a bit of a feel for what you've done prior to starting your own business. How long were you?
Sorry,
how long were you working for the other company that was not a fun place to be?
It's about 2 years at the other company.
Yeah.
I did another 12 months with, long story. I started off as a nurse, actually, when I left school. Yep. And I've done a list of jobs that I've done through the years: nursing, children's party clown, trivia and karaoke hostess, sales rep for a bunch of different companies. I've worked in a women's refuge. I've worked, where else have I worked? Yeah, I've done Uber Eats. I've done disability support. I worked from home for this company that I didn't realize was a scam. So I did a work from home job for a scam company. And so many other jobs as well that I've forgotten. But yeah, this is my favorite.
So I would say most of those jobs sound like they're in a service industry one way or another. And given that you worked in a women's shelter, but you've also worked for a company that was a scam, I'm going to say that you're a fairly genuine person looking for ways that you help other people, not actually trying to find that scam.
Not scamming people. I didn't last very long at that job, honestly. I thought, and
once you realised.
So people can drain my social battery, but I also need them, even if it's just small doses. And I thought that working from home would be the absolute best because you're in your pajamas, you can drink 1,000 coffees, you can do a load of laundry whenever you feel like it. But it was so lonely.
Yeah.
I just had my puppy and my cats with me, and it was just, I loved working with my dog, don't get me wrong, but the abuse that I'd cop on the phone, and that, if you're working in an office and someone just is a complete douche to you over the phone and just abuses you, you can sort of turn to the other person in your office and go like, well, that was intense. But if you're at home, I've got my dog, she doesn't really care.
I think most of us, and because you're talking about your ADHD and how that works, most of us appreciate the one-on-one interactions you get at a level where you've got some control over that. So if you're in an office, you can talk to somebody and vent for a minute if you need to. If you're on the phone, you can have those one-on-one interactions with people as well. So I find interviewing one person at a time like this is really good. I find that's quite energizing. I like doing it. And after about the 2.5 hour mark, I start having trouble keeping my eyes open, tripped. But yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So you've gone through a number of different service industries, and I think the nursing, the women's refuge, and then outdoor work like you're doing. You've been doing this for the last 3 years or so.
Yeah, give or take. So I was at the previous role for 2 years, and I've been doing Grass Queen now for, it'll be 2 years in April. Ooh.
Okay, so we'll come up to 4 years then.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I actually I lost 50 kilos when I first started my old job.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
guessing that wasn't a good thing at that point in time, though, or was that just purely because of the amount of exercise you're doing?
I was really big. I was really, really big, and
Yeah.
I have a genetic condition that causes my joints to dislocate.
Ouch.
It's a connective tissue disorder, and
Yeah.
it affects my heart, my gut, my skin, my blood vessels, and obviously my joints and my ligaments. So when I was actually working in an office, I had to use a walking stick to get around.
Wow.
I was really heavy.
Not a great place to be then. So your health-wise, you've benefited from leaving the office and working outdoors.
Absolutely.
And leaving the old business, the old company, and working for yourself, you benefit from your mental health. And
100%.
So I'm sure there was some good things about the previous company where you worked too. You would have got a lot of skills there.
Absolutely, yeah. They really help me. Before I started, I was actually really scared of using the whippersnipper. Because my husband and I, we used to live on a 1/4 acre, and so when it was time to mow the lawns, before I realized how easy it was to whip, I go, I don't want to whip. You do the whipping and I'll do the lawns. Okay. And then, and then at the previous job, they taught me how to use the whip, and now I'm like, oh, you can do the mowing and I'll do the whipping. Yeah. And also, as I said, like I did the leadership course while I was there, and that taught me a lot about business leadership and how to get the best out of employees and how to have the hard conversations with people. And that sort of was good because it carried over. But the other thing that working for that other company taught me was time management.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And
I'm guessing,
where I struggle.
How many employees did they have that you were in that environment?
So they had 4 utes, I think, with 2 teams. So it was sort of casual. They had 3 team leaders when I left, or 4 team leaders when I left. Yeah. And then, so they must have had 5 utes. I don't know. I can't remember. But it was a pretty big team.
Yeah, okay. That gives me a bit of an idea. So it would have been a good environment for learning a number of skills, just 100%. A little bit toxic because of the people there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. And also it taught me how to train people as well. And how different people learn in different ways.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I learned a bit about maintaining equipment, how to change things and fix things up. And one of the jobs I did was house painter. I worked as a brush hand for a guy, and so I still do every now and then some house painting sort of stuff. So I'll repair holes in walls for my customers, and I like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's good to have a good variety of skills. I know talking to Jenny, she was saying she does a lot of handyman work, so there's quite a variety of jobs she takes on.
Yeah, she prefers the handyman, but you don't want to build flat pack furniture with her because she's crazy. She's like, I love flat pack furniture, and then she'll act like she hates you, which is really endearing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like it would be a real comedy skit.
It's intense, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, she's really good. It's good having she also helps a lot if I have a handyman that I think I can do and I hit a roadblock. I know I can always call her and she'll be able to help me out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so in the previous company, you're saying you learnt how to do a lot of the skills there, and you got a lot of extra skills with business training. What sort of jobs did they take on?
Mostly NDIS.
So is it a mix of gardening and lawn mowing, or did they do handyman work as well?
Before I started, it was gardening and lawn mowing,
Yep.
basically. And when I started, I was doing some painting and a bit of handyman stuff, and they actually developed the handyman side of the business as well. So
okay. Nice.
It was a good variety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've created Aussie Lawn Stars to give you professional help free. And you'll also find Lawn Care Skull Sessions and the Australian Lawn and Garden podcast doing the same thing. On Facebook, you can look up the Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia group or the Australian Professional Contractors group. And if you want help that is personalised and takes you a little bit further, then you should look up Prez Madley. He offers personal coaching, business coaching, and corporate coaching. Email him on thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. You could also book an appointment with my accountants, Prosper Financial, on 0249 773363 if you need help getting your business and bookkeeping in order.
So when you started your business, we're talking April of 22?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm hearing weird things.
It's all right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I'm actually hearing something outside through my headphones that are noise cancelling because that's the ADHD.
If you need to take a break and check on anything, just say so.
It's all right. My husband's here. Maybe it's the show he's watching. Maybe it's some squealing wheels.
Yes, it's quite possible.
What were we saying? Sorry.
So we're talking about you started your business up 2 years ago, April 2022.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So when you started your business, did you have any equipment of your own that you started with? Did you talk to an accountant about starting a business up and what to register an ABN or start up a company name, anything like that? So
when I started my business, my neighbour was actually retiring his lawn mowing business because he has rheumatoid arthritis. So he couldn't do the job anymore. And he was looking for someone to take over his customers.
Oh, okay.
What a piece of serendipity. So when I was talking to him about wanting to start Grass Queen, he said, oh, well, this is great because, just a second, sorry. Sassy, stop licking the lounge. Good girl. That's my dog. So, he gave me his customer list. He had all notes that I had to try and decipher about them, but I basically rang them all up and asked them, let them introduce myself. And we did have a few misogynists that were like, oh, no, we wouldn't want a woman to mow the lawn. And that's okay. All right. Give me a call if you need me anyway. But I started in the back of my 2000 Toyota Corolla with a little blue Victor mower and my husband's husky whip and my husband's blower. And as business took off, I bought a ladder and, all the hand tools and stuff. And then my neighbour, who's a chippy, he gave me his old tradie trailer with the little lift-up side flap doors. And he built a little platform next to the door so I could lift the mower in and out of the side there because he's an absolute love. And he gave me that trailer for free. I cried 1,000 tears of gratitude. And then after that, I started to outgrow the little tradie trailer and I went and bought Dirk's old trailer.
Yeah, nice.
And so he introduced me.
Were you towing behind the Corolla?
No. No. So I sold the Corolla and was using my husband's RAV4.
Yeah, okay.
And he was driving his VE Commodore to work. But he works in Silverdale. Stop licking the lounge. Enough. It's my dog again. He was driving his Commodore to work. Actually, no, his parents gave us a Pajero. So,
nice.
We're the house of 1,000 cars. So, sold the Corolla. He's driving the Pajero. I'm towing with the RAV.
Yeah.
this white fiberglass, fully enclosed old go-kart trailer from Dirk.
Yeah.
It's like got a 1975 frame. It's a beast. I loved it.
Yeah.
But I outgrew that. And just recently I've bought myself a mowing specific trailer that I tow around with my Triton.
Okay. Yep. So you've upgraded to a Triton?
Yep. Can't frighten a Triton.
I reckon I could.
How lucky is this? Hey, I was given a John Deere ride-on by
Wow.
Benny's boss, my husband's boss, right? So
Yeah.
I would drive it into Dirk's old trailer and I'd have to sort of curl my head up onto my shoulder and really duck down to get it in because it would barely fit. And I think Dirk's probably dying 1,000 deaths thinking about me putting a John Deere ride-on in that old trailer. But that started to explode, leaking oil everywhere, and I just didn't have it in me to get it fixed. It's still in the backyard. My husband uses it to mow our lawn, which is like, I don't know, 20 square meters. It's nothing.
So he mows it with the ride-on.
Yeah, he loves it. He gets in there with a beer. You know what I mean? So the old Victor mower's been upgraded to a Bush Ranger push mower. I've got an Ego battery hedger, and I've got a Bush Ranger multi-tool. It was recommended to me by Nathan Lawn and Gardens.
Yeah, okay.
Like probably when I first started, and that's so I name all my tools.
Okay.
I name all my tools. They're really terrible puns, and we can get to that in a bit. But so I just recently bought a mowing specific trailer and a Cub Cadet 42-inch zero turn. The actual deal of the century. I feel like I'm just honestly so blessed, so serendipity. My customer's next door neighbor, her son was selling his lawn mowing trailer and ride-on. The Cub Cadet had 12 hours on it.
Yeah.
And the trailer's a Mechid. I don't know how to pronounce it. Let's go with Mechid. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm not sure. Yeah.
It's got a big ramp. It's got the side gate for the lawnmower and then a toolbox in the front and a toolbox in the side. It's flash one.
Nice.
And they're worth $8,500. The ride-on's $8,800. And he sold me the whole lot for $7,000.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good value.
So
So the Cub Cadet, now they're a pretty good brand. They're a massive company that backs Cub Cadet, but they're a pretty good brand. And you said it's a 42-inch zero turn, so that's a big step up from the old John Deere tractor mower.
Yeah. I think the John Deere's a 36, maybe. It's quite old.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know, but I was talking to my mate at the steel dealership, and he was saying that they're having troubles with the Cub Cadet because obviously their headquarters are in the US.
Yep.
And he said that he's struggling to get parts in kind of a timely manner.
Yeah, okay. I have heard there's been a few issues, I think, because Stanley Black & Decker is the company that owns Cub Cadet, and they own Hustler now as well. So they've been working to try and consolidate the business and make sure that they can supply Australia with machines and back up with parts. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it's still in that transition where it went from Roy Gripsky and Sons looking after Hustler to Stanley Black & Decker taking that on as well as the Cub Cadet.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
Hopefully they can get that sorted so it's easier to get parts.
Yeah, well, I've just ordered a catcher for it.
Oh, okay.
And he said 2 to 3 weeks for that.
So that's a genuine Cub Cadet catcher, is it?
Yeah, because the Catch Pro, they don't make one for my model.
Okay, yeah.
I tried. I was big Devo.
Yeah. So is the genuine one of the ones that has a tube that goes around behind the machine with the bags on the back?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought it might be.
Have you ever had those before?
No. I've
Do you know anyone?
Seen machines like that, but I've never actually had any experience with it at all. So I think the biggest issue with that is that the tube can block up if you're doing wet grass.
Yeah, okay.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Aside from that, if you make sure you don't cut too much grass at once when it's on the wet side, then it should work fairly well for you.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
No more mulch and rake.
It'll allow you to catch a lot more grass than what you can with the old bush ranger.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the bush ranger is called Jason. Jason, my mower.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and have you named the cub cadet?
Yeah, that's Moline.
Oh, okay.
Moline,
yep.
Moline. Yeah. So that's Moline.
Okay.
So I just bought a new whip on the weekend. So I had a Stihl FS 70, I think it is. Okay. I don't know. Got him on Marketplace, and so that's Stihl Collins. And I've just bought the FS 94 RC, I think it was, on the weekend, and that's Stillium Shakespeare.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 94R is it's a staple of the contractor market. I think that and the Husky 525 is sort of the backbone of the contractor market. It used to be the old. Sorry, got a mental blank here. Not Echo, but Shindewa. The Shindy 260 or the 230 were the other ones that were big in the market. But I think they were much bigger in Queensland because their distributor network comes from Queensland.
Gotcha.
Whereas around Sydney, Newcastle area, I think Stihl and Husqvarna are more dominant.
They've got the more of the market share.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a friend who was working with me for a bit. She worked with me at the old place too. She's deaf, and she's taught me a lot of gardening science, which is really cool. So cool. And I teach all of those to my co-workers so that I can have my earmuffs on, whatever, and still sign to them. And she had a Tanaka. Have you ever used a Tanaka?
I had a Tanaka hedge trimmer way back when I started doing the work. The first time I bought a hedge trimmer, it was a second-hand Tanaka.
Yeah, right. This whip was like the weight of a tissue box. You know, when you're moving house and you move like a box of books and another box of books, and then you go to get this next box, you think it's books, and you basically lift it and you throw it into the atmosphere pretty much, into orbit.
Because it's so light, yeah.
That's how I felt using my friend's whip. Like, my edges are crisp with the Stihl. I'm used to it. I would use it every day for hours. It's basically a pen at this point in time. And my mate said, oh, here, use this one. Give it a try. It's a lot lighter. And I tell you what, I have never carved up an edge more than with this tissue box whippersnipper. It was so light, man. I was thinking, oh, no, I'm going to have to go and reevaluate my skills.
Get the Stihl back out to tidy up.
Yeah. Bust out Stihl Collins.
I've actually found that to be true with using a number of different whips over time, that the slightly heavier units are a little bit easier to hold nice and smooth and do stable, crisp edges with it sometimes. So, yeah, I've had a couple of really light machines. I've got the Stihl FS94 RCs, like you've got that one there. I've had several of them. I've had a few Husqvarna whips as well. I had the old 323L, which was a really lightweight machine.
I think we've got the 122LD, I think it is, or something like that. The Husky, that's my husband's.
Okay, yeah.
I liked the Stihl FS55. It's an old one. I got that one on Marketplace too during hard COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
I might have broken the rules and driven to Blacktown to go pick it up from Marketplace. Oh, no. Ooh. Or someone like me.
Yeah, you didn't have to cross a border and do a border check.
No, I still stayed in the West. I didn't have to cross a bridge and go to the Shire or anything, so that's all right.
Yeah, I know they actually did a block on the freeway going from Sydney to Newcastle at one stage, and they just had the cops there pulling everyone up, checking everyone over. What are you doing? Where are you going? Yeah,
right.
I mean, the insanity of asking police to actually do that is just crazy, because it's like, okay, you could just jump off the freeway and go a different direction and get around that,
or you could say, I'm buying a house, or I'm going to see someone in hospital.
Yep, 1,000 different things you could come up with that are legitimate.
Yeah, I've got waiting for a mate.
But we've moved on from those times. I think it's unlikely they'll do that again.
Oh, don't do that. Knock on wood quick right now. All right. Yeah.
Yes.
Well and truly knocked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you bought so it was the FS55 from there.
Yeah, that was ages ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was right at the start of Grass Queen. That was my
Okay.
first little gutless baby. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
I
the
prefer
94 is a really good compromise there because it's got plenty of power, but it's not the same as a brush cutter. So if you're doing really thick overgrown stuff, you still want to go a bit stronger than that again.
So my father-in-law gave me the big bullhorn brush cutter. I think it's the 131.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I've got a 131.
Yeah, with the big arms, with the 8 hangers.
Mine doesn't. Mine's got the loop handle on it, so you can get either or.
Yeah, this one's got the 8 hangers on it.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't get. It needs to be going to get serviced or something's going on with it. So it's just sort of just hanging out in the backyard at the moment. But
they're a bit of a powerhouse. If they're running well, they're quite good for doing all that overgrown work.
Yeah, well, he lived on property in Oberon, so he used it up there quite a lot. But now he's got a little villa in Foster. He doesn't need the whip anymore. So I've just been very lucky. People have given me customer list, trailer, ride-on, you name it. I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done well.
So lucky. Yeah. Feel very loved.
So the gear you've got now, it sounds like you're set up really well. So you've got the new trailer, the new zero turn,
yes,
commercial whip. I'm guessing you've got a commercial hedge trimmer as well.
No, I've got the Ego battery multi-tool.
Oh yeah,
which it actually goes pretty hard, eh? Like
yeah,
it does the job. The battery lasts quite a while.
It's amazing how many of the domestic range Ego tools are getting used commercially and doing really well.
Well, the other day, or last Thursday, I think it was, I did this horrific hedging job. It was about 50 meters of viburnum, and it was disgusting. And we did it with the Ego, and it didn't miss a beat.
Viburnum's disgusting all the time, though, right?
Oh, it stinks. And it was in this like semi-industrial area. So not only was it stinky, gross, overgrown viburnum that hadn't been trimmed in over 12 months, and it was 50 meters of it.
Yeah.
And it was filled with wasps.
Oh, no.
And it was 35 degrees and there was no shade. Not only that, but it was covered in like truck soot or brake dust or something, that just industrial miscellaneous grime.
Oh boy. Yep, that's turned viburnum from gross into disgusting.
It's literally the worst job. And the lady still hasn't paid.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
I find viburnum, you need to cut it fairly frequently. So 12 months growth is way too much.
Way too much. And she wanted it done before this weekend because it was her daughter's 18th birthday. And of course, me being a sucker didn't tack on the emergency tax. I just thought, I'll get it done. Because she was one of my first customers who started back when I was only charging $50 an hour like a cowboy. Yeah. Which, to your earlier question, no, I didn't speak to an accountant when I started my business. I just cowboyed right on out there.
Yeah. So did you set up as a sole trader or a company? A sole trader, yep.
So I did I already had an ABN for reasons. Oh, Uber Eats, I think.
Yeah, you would for Uber Eats. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I registered my business name, Grass Queen.
Yeah, as long as you got the wording right when you registered it, so it's grass and not Ass Queen.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, okay, so the interesting story behind the Grass Queen is that I wanted it to be immediately apparent from my business name that I'm a woman.
Yep.
Because at my old job for the previous company, sometimes I'd knock on the door for a new customer and the look on these people's face, women and men too, someone actually said to me, "Oh, well, I was expecting a big, strong man." Yep. Now I'm 5'1", and a little pudgy, very strong on the inside. I just got a bit of padding, and I wanted to make sure that the people who were engaging my business and wanted me to do the work for them knew straight away that they were going to get a woman.
Yeah. I was talking to Jenny about this issue, the number of people that see a woman turn up to do yard work, lawn mowing,
to do man jobs,
handyman jobs.
Yeah.
And if it's a husband where their wife's ordered the work to be done.
Oh, they get so emasculated.
Yeah, they take
not
offense
all of them.
to it.
Hashtag not all men, but
yeah, of course. I mean, there's good men around, but
100%. I'm married to one. Get your hands off.
But I think it's actually understandable. It's not acceptable, but it's understandable that men would feel intimidated by that.
Yeah,
or emasculated.
It's sad that it is like that because
yeah,
my, having ADHD, I get burnt out very quickly, right?
Yeah,
and I understand that in people's lives, customers' lives, sometimes other priorities come first,
Yeah, of
and
course.
if there's 1 million tasks on that honeydew list,
Yep.
and honey's tired, then
Yep.
I know Jenny doesn't, and I certainly don't ever judge someone for outsourcing and being like, hey, can you do this man job for me, lady? And I think the thing that gives me the edge is that a lot of people who are by themselves during the day, women especially and old ladies, would prefer to have a woman in their house.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the number of women that I've interviewed, that's one of the outstanding comments is that a lot of single ladies, young or old, feel a lot more comfortable with you turning up than with me turning up. And if people can see my face right now, I'm not intimidating.
No.
But
neither am I. I am. I'm terrifying. No.
But yeah, nonetheless, a single woman, whatever age, is going to be a lot more comfortable with you turning up to do the work than with me.
Which is quite sad, really. I actually was contacted recently by a lady who wanted someone to come and help her with her jungle, and she asked, because I'm busy, I mean, brag, I'm booked out until May at this stage. So brag. I never thought this would happen. Anyway, let's press pause on that. So I was talking to her and said, I'm sorry, I'm really full.
Yeah.
And I gave her the names of a few other, because she said she'd prefer a woman.
Yep.
Just because her last lawnmower guy was really creepy and made her really uncomfortable.
Mm.
And there was no access to the back lawn. They had to go through the house.
Yeah, not so good.
Yeah. So I actually recommended my my employee that I trained and then Jenny stole.
Oh, this sounds like an interesting story.
I know, it's so juicy. Yeah, so Jamie is actually a dude, but he is the loveliest, non-sleaziest dude, and she's actually going to give Jamie a go because Jamie's just started his business too.
Ah, okay. Yep, nice.
Just me and Jenny just churning out lawn mowing businesses, just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what did I say put a pin on?
I think we were talking about the business, you starting the business as a sole trader, and then there was something there.
I have subcontractors.
Yeah.
So I have some people working with me. My star worker actually worked with me at the previous company as well, and she quit due to toxicity, I think.
Yeah.
She started there at 15, so I was her team leader, and I trained her. And then when I needed someone, I contacted her, and she was here with bells on for some reason. I don't know. I think she's crazy. But
she was ready to leave the other company.
Yeah. So I got she'd already left, so I wasn't poaching their staff.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. I think they might be a bit litigious, but
it's hard to poach their staff when their staff are leaving in droves anyway.
They don't pay very much at all, and there's not a lot of training, and I think the best way to get quality staff is the training,
Yep.
And a few people previously, if someone makes a mistake, it's a mistake, it's just grass, right? Nothing's unfixable.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Some of the previous, I've worked with people who will make someone feel like absolute trash for making a mistake, or you'd get yelled at if the pull cord would break on the mower that had been sitting on the back of the ute for weeks, months on end,
Yep.
you know, out on the street. And it's like,
completely unnecessary.
that's not my management style.
It's, it's like, say, toxic work environment. It's not the way it should be.
Yeah, it's just grass, guys. Lighten up. It's just, at the end of the day, we're just making plants smaller. Like,
I understand, and I'm sure you would too, right? Because you're on the other end of that now. You're the employer when you've got Jamie working with you before he's gone out on his own.
Before he got stolen by Jenny.
Because you're so toxic.
Yeah, I'm heaps toxic.
But the point that I'm making is, suppose Jamie broke the pull cord on that bush ranger you've got. Now, initially, if everything's going well, you're probably like, oh yeah, these things happen, doesn't matter.
Yep.
But if he breaks 2 or 3 pull cords in fairly quick succession, you start going, hey Jamie, what are you doing?
Yeah, it'd be like, all right, obviously we need to do some training here. Can you show me how you do that?
I've found this
because I'll
with
wear
my
2.
employees.
Okay, first one might be weathered. Second one, maybe it wasn't fixed properly.
Yeah.
Third one, all right, you need to show me how you're doing this because something's not right. Actually, my friend's son was he was getting into a bit of trouble, and she asked me to take him out for a day. He's 16.
Yeah.
And I had her with me. She was making, she was having a bit of a day with me, and she brought him along, and he didn't know he was going to get paid. And he was all full of teenage angst, right? He's a big guy. And I was saying to him, like, oh, I hope you're nice and fit. And he goes, oh, I can bench press 110 kilos. I was like, all right, righto, 110. Let's see how you go today. And he did one job that was a half hour. And then at the end of the job, he just pushed Jason off the gutter. It's like, hey, man, please treat the equipment with respect. That's how I pay my bills. He goes, oh, it's just a lawnmower. I said, okay, but do you have $900 to replace that lawnmower? Because if it breaks, that's how much it costs.
Yep.
Oh, nah. So he took care of it, and then he slept for the second job for 2 hours in the ute in the summer. And then the last job, he pulled the pull cord on Jason so hard that it snapped the little bits that engage with the pulley. I don't know.
Yep.
Pulled it so hard. Yeah, he was trying to rip the cord into orbit. And
so he was deliberately doing that.
Yeah, he had his cranky pants on, and that cost me. Well, I had to buy another mower just to keep me going until it was it was repaired.
Yep.
So his little temper tantrum cost me $460.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard when you're dealing with staff to not get the cranky pants on. And I know, like, we're not comparing you to a toxic work environment as much as we have joked about things. But I know for me, there's been several times where I've had staff do things and it's like, that could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Let's try and avoid it happening again.
Yeah. Like, I had this other young bloke, and, obviously I have a few customers that actually really are very, very lawn proud. Yeah. And I'll always say to my blokes, listen, I will whip about a mower's deck from the gutter, so you don't have to have those wheels anywhere near the gutter. Yeah. Nowhere near it. Please do not put the wheels near the gutter. Yeah. If you make a mistake, I'm not going to get mad, but you need to tell me so we can fix it, or so I can tell the customer and we can take steps to make it better. It's fine. As I say to all of them, it's not rocket surgery, boys. Like, it's just we're just cutting grass. Nothing's unfixable, but you've got to tell me. So, young mate, first day, the buffalo's like 3 inches thick. I hate this lawn so much, but the customer loves it so much. Yep. And he put the wheel straight off the gutter and left this giant crop circle in the front lawn.
Lovely. Do
you think he told me about that crop circle?
I find even the best employees are reluctant to tell you. I had this happen last week, and good employee. I'm not going to rip them a new one, but they made an innocent mistake, and they're like, "Oh, I'm having some troubles." I'm like, "Okay, let's have a look at what's going on." And they had a legitimate problem to sort out, but they neglected to tell me until I turned up to see what was going on that they'd also run the lawnmower into a big metal post. And they owned it when it was obvious they're not going to hide it. But yeah, even the best staff are going to be a little bit reluctant to own up to something they're embarrassed about.
Oh, do you want to hear my biggest stuff up? So at my old job, when I was the team leader, I had like a pretty newish Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
And I was coming around the corner into this car park to get a coffee. Yeah. And they have like the big safety bollard poles. And one of them had been knocked over so many times that it was at like less than a 45-degree angle. So it was barely visible.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm coming around the corner and somehow the front wheels went around it and then the back wheel sort of lifted up and I drove right up onto that bollard with one wheel and it got stuck right between like the wheel and the leaf springs of the back. Like,
ooh, ouch.
What? How? So I'm sitting there like a shag on a rock, just like, well, and it was April Fool's Day.
Oh, no.
And I could barely get out because I'm 5'1" and I opened the door. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna need help to get out of here. And it was out the front of a paint shop. And I knew the guys at the paint shop pretty well. So I rang my boss and like, hey, I hit a pole and I am stuck. I'm fully stuck. I don't know how I'm going to get off here. So the guys from the paint shop got the forklift and lifted up the back end of the ute, and we managed to pull the pole out of the ground.
Wow. Yeah.
And the car was fine afterwards, but that was very, very embarrassing. And I had to ring my boss and say, hey, I'm just going to preface this by saying I know it's April Fool's Day. This is not a prank.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did get a disciplinary meeting for that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man, come on, mistakes happen. He goes, what if it was a kid? And then all of the blood drained from my whole body. And what if it was a kid?
Well, yeah, but I know that's bad, but it wasn't a kid.
Yeah.
And if there was a kid there, was it something that you did deliberately? Is it like you were cutting corners and that's why it happened? Or was it because you didn't see it? And if you don't see a kid, as much as that's bad that you might run over a kid, if you don't see them...
considering the angle that the bollard was at, I think it might have been a design flaw because every other person in the whole of Western Sydney had hit that first.
Yeah.
It just, I got the right angle to hit it properly.
To get stuck on it on April Fool's Day.
Yeah. I've actually got a photo of it. It's one of my favourite photos. Just up on three wheels.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's to be expected. People are going to be embarrassed when they make a mistake and a little bit reluctant to own it.
That's true.
But it's pretty hard as a boss, isn't it, to actually deal with that when somebody does something like that and to go, okay, I've got to maintain a straight face, not let emotion get involved in this. It's just business.
See, I sort of err on the side of giving people too much grace. Like I had a bloke working with me and he was late every day by at least half an hour with no message, no text, no nothing. And I'm not a cranky person, I just, again, at the end of the day, it's just grass. But the thing that gets quite annoying is that it's summer. It's very hot. My days are fully booked and I can't really sit around waiting, If I can get out of bed, he can. If I can do this, like me, the lady who used to be 110 kilos at 5'1" with dislocating joints, if I can do this, bro, you're 18, you can get out of bed.
Yep. If you want a job, that's the expectation. You're going to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever time you start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And but I still give him work because I'm a rube.
Yeah. Well, I had one guy who I trained how to work and got him all set up, and I was like, all right, I'm confident that he knows what he's doing, and then he reversed the ride-on mower into a car.
Into a car.
Into a car. Yep, that was an insurance claim. I think that's the only insurance claim I've made. Broken window, no, it's paid for it out of my own pocket because it's cheaper. But into a car, it's like, yeah, that's an insurance claim.
Oh.
And he and I sat down and talked about it, and I was like, okay, what happened? And we went through it, and he and I both concurred that it was not really the right place for him to be working and that he should find something else to do. And it was, like I said, it was mutually agreed on. It wasn't me telling him, go on, see you later. It was him and I both saying, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, like what I've learned with my management skills and with all the 9,000 trillion basquillion jobs that I've had in the past is that, like, someone's making a lot of mistakes and they're, sleeping in or whatever. They either have got a lot going on in their personal life or they hate their job.
Yeah.
And, usually I'll start off with, hey, man, is everything okay? Do you need anything for me to help you succeed here? Like, within reason. Yeah. Like, I'm obviously not going to give you my trailer and my ride on, but, do you need to meet me at the first job? Or, like, what's going on? Do you need to work some half days?
Yeah.
And if they keep going, then it's like, hey, okay, well, obviously we know this job's not for everyone. It's freaking hard.
Yeah. Well, I had one of my first employees who was really struggling with Asperger's, and it was a case of going, okay, he was young. Like, I think he was 17 or 18 when he started working with me. He had not had a proper job before, and he was on a disability pension for Asperger's. It wasn't just a mild high functioning. And so he would stay up playing games all night, and then when I'd go to say, all right, it's time to start work, he was struggling. So some days in the process of working through whether he was a good employee or not, some days it would be a case of going, okay, clearly you're not capable of working today. I'm going to have to go without you. Or come out there, give it your best shot, and I'm going to say see you later once you are too exhausted or your brain's not functioning properly. See you later.
Yeah, and it's quite frustrating, isn't it?
I think if I had been busier, then it would have been a case of going, sorry, this is not working, see you later, and get somebody else. But yeah, it's one of those challenging things where some people are not helping themselves, and sometimes you got to look beyond that and go, okay, are they deliberately burning bridges, or are they got a serious issue that they are struggling to function with? And he was struggling to function with the real issues he had to deal with.
Yeah. I think that's why I give people so much grace, because I am the first person to stay up until stupid o'clock in the morning, doom scrolling or watching Netflix, or even just laying there waiting. Before I started gardening and doing this, I actually didn't sleep very well at all. But I found that, some days I wake up with, full of beans. And other days I wake up with no beans, and I borrow tomorrow's beans and use them today.
Yeah.
But if I wake up full of beans and I don't use all my beans, that's when cranky Hayley comes out, and I don't like that person. So if I go out and do the gardening and the lawn mowing, then it keeps the ADHD monster at bay. I'm a lot less frustrated. Yeah.
I think looking at balance in life, having an active role outdoors like that allows you to be a better person overall. And I'm not talking 100%. About you. I'm not talking about you, Hayley. I'm talking about people in general.
For me, Hayley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
100%.
me, for you. It's generally you're a better person. You're better off if you have, a step count of over 10,000 steps a day and you're fairly active, then you can eat more and still have a relatively balanced life than if you're in a sedentary role and you're going, okay, I need to cut my calories, but you're not actually doing anything active. It's still it's more of a challenge. And you get to the point where, that sedentary office role, and you struggle with your weight, then you struggle with your joints, and then you struggle with your mental health, and you struggle with your sleeping, and everything makes everything worse.
The road rage that I experienced when I was working in the office was out of this world. Whereas now, I'm just cruising. I get to listen to the podcast for 10 more minutes. Who even cares? You know
Yeah.
what? Whenever I start getting frustrated about being late or whatever, I just remind myself time's made up.
I had a road rage incident a couple of weeks ago. I'm reluctant to admit
Okay.
this, but I willfully decided many years ago that I did not want to be aggressive on the road. I needed to change my attitude just so that I had one less thing to stress about in life.
Yeah, one less thing to be furious about is other
Yeah.
people's driving skills, but keep going.
But yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was driving on the M1 and
Mm-hmm.
this person in front of me just behaving a little bit erratically. They were in front of me and then they pulled over into the left lane and I went to go past them. So, I was doing 5 kilometres an hour faster than they were. So I was going a little bit faster, catching up, and then they pulled right in front of me as like too close. So I flashed them with my high beams. And it wasn't road rage at that point in time. It was just,
No, it was just like, hey, I'm
it's like,
here.
hey, I don't want to hit you. I don't want to have an accident. And so they jammed their brakes on.
Oh, no.
So I flashed them again just to let them know, hey, I really don't want to hit you. So they continued past that car and then they pulled over into the left lane again and I went past them. And they pulled out behind me. And so they behaving relatively normal at that point in time, but I was going past some more cars and I was like, oh, you know what, that's really got under my skin a little bit. So I slowed down. I didn't hit the brakes and jam the brakes on like they did. I just slowed down a little bit. And they drove around me on the grass on the right-hand side of my car.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. I was like, man, there's some crazy people out there.
Oh, Methany.
Who knows what they were dealing with? I'm like, I don't want to know.
That is actually unhinged. That's awful.
Yeah.
Did you have your whole rig? Like, do you have a trailer? What do you run?
I did not have a trailer on. I had a van. I've got 2 vehicles at the moment. I've got a Hilux and I've got a Renault Traffic, and I was in the Renault Traffic. So, yeah.
Which is still quite a large vehicle and doesn't stop on a freaking dime, does it?
Yeah. So, I was okay, but yeah, it rattled me.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been in this business for 14 years now, and it's been that long. Like when I was in an office job before this job, before I started my business, and it was in that office job where I was like, all right, I have to deal with stress and I'm cutting road rage and, enjoying driving.
Yeah, I do the same.
I just got to chill out.
What a treat. Yeah, no, I'm the same. I used to get really bad road rage. And when I was a sales rep too, I was an industrial sales rep, so I worked for a company that sold. That's a word now. The country, far out. I work 10 hours today, so I'm not the most articulate. I used to work for a company that would sell truck spares and tools and oils and cleaning, industrial stuff pretty much.
Yeah.
And I was a sales rep for a fastener company too. And I'd be driving around all day stuck in traffic. And yeah, you just gotta make the decision to be like, I'm just gonna let whatever's going on inside that car happen. Yep. And the only thing I can control is what's in my car. And I like aircon and I like podcasts and I like getting paid to sit on occasion.
Yep. Yeah, I find most of the time I'm pretty good. I can just go, all right, I'm chilling out. I don't need to be overtaking anyone. I'm not in a hurry. I make sure I leave home in plenty of time so I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah, I'm a left lane loser as well.
And that way I can just chill when I'm on the road and not have to stress. But every now and then you just get somebody who's unhinged, gets under your skin.
The thing that scares me is when someone will pull out right in front of me and then, jam on the brakes because I've got the Triton and now I've got the trailer with Moline in there. Like, she's strapped down, but don't you dare threaten my girl. She's only a baby.
I've had numerous times when I have been towing a trailer with the ride on in it, with the, behind the 4-wheel drive. So we're talking 3.5, 4 ton of vehicle on the road.
Yeah, mine's without Moline, it was 3.4.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
pretty close to 3.5 ton. Driving on the road like that, and you're like, okay, I've got to make sure my trailer brakes are working properly. I've got to make sure everything's functioning properly. But you have somebody pull out through a gap from a side road in front of you. I had this happen once in particular, where an intersection where somebody had just died recently before that. That person just pulled out in front of me in a gap that was too small. I locked up all of my wheels, and they just looked at me as they're just going past slowly. And they're just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying not to kill you.
That's the absolute worst. I hate that because I was once driving down the M4 at my previous role, and it was a service ute. They had like welding bottles and stuff on there for
Oh, yeah.
I think it was like earth moving equipment or something. And he was zipping in and out of traffic, and he came around the blind corner, and the traffic had stopped, and he got clipped somehow and landed and rolled and rolled and landed on the roof and sort of skidded off, onto the road. And I stopped because I was behind him, and also I'm first aid trained, fire trained, all of that.
Yeah.
And we got him out, but it was that made me realize you got to leave a big gap.
Yeah.
Just leave a big gap. There's no rush. And the guy ended up being fine. He just had some cuts and bruises, but he gets out because I was like, hey man, can you move your legs? He's like, yeah. I said, all right, well, I need you to be really careful. I'm going to help you out because there's welding bottles on the back here and we got to go. And he's like, oh, I just really want a cigarette. Mate, if you come 20, 30 meters down the road down here, I will literally roll you a cigarette.
Yeah.
But not here. We got to go.
Yep. That's it.
I don't smoke anymore though. Brag.
Oh, congratulations. It's a tough one to quit that.
I went from smoking to vaping.
Yeah.
And then I took the nicotine out of the vape.
Yeah.
And it was just vaping, just steam.
Strawberry
and
steam.
Then, it was watermelon actually. And then just after Christmas, I was like, I don't really need this anymore. But
is that where that song comes from? Watermelon, sugar, high?
Maybe. There you go. That's just clicked. Yeah. What's his name? Zane? No, I don't know. One of those.
I don't even remember who it is that sings that.
Oh, there's people who are listening to this who are going insane. Sorry, guys.
Yep.
I get people asking all the time if battery is up to the task for everyday commercial use, and there are still plenty of people who argue that battery is simply not a good solution for contractors. So let's cover a couple of these topics. 1. Not every lawn and garden business will get a benefit from using battery tools. You should ask the questions first about what sort of tasks they will be required to do, and I'm happy to answer some of these questions about what tasks are good for battery tools and which tasks should be left for petrol tools. 2. What benefits do you want from battery tools? Some businesses will experience a greater return on investment with battery tools. This can be measured financially, but sometimes needs to be measured in reduced risks and problems too. Work health safety benefits are measurable when talking about no exhaust burns, reduced noise, and the noise being further away from the operator's ears. Vibrations in your dominant and non-dominant arm will most likely be less with battery tools, but a change in the balance of tools or poorly maintained tools can result in more vibrations to your forward-reaching arm regardless of if it's battery or petrol power. So, some easy tools to see the benefit with battery are hedge trimmers and handheld blowers because the list of pros and cons seriously favour the battery tool over petrol. But whippersnippers and mowers often have the pendulum where the pros disappear as the runtime requirements increase or the load increases due to long grass. If you run one battery platform, you might find you initially needed 2 or 3 batteries, and now with a whippersnipper and a mower, you require 10 or even 20 batteries to get through a whole day. This can be the line in the sand for many businesses, but one way to avoid this is to charge on the go or bring your charger to the properties where you spend long periods of time. I've been using a number of Ego tools now, and Ego is a dedicated battery power brand. When I need commercial battery solutions, Ego has a tool and battery and charging options that allow me to focus on getting the work done, and I don't have to worry about my day. 2 staff and 6 batteries keep me out of trouble and busy working.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll get copyright infringement for saying it.
Dolly's coming after me for naming my mower Moline.
Yep.
Sorry, Dolly, I love you.
So, Hayley, let's take a different tack now. We're looking at just over an hour we've been on this interview so far. I want to give people a really good view of what your business is like. So we've covered some pretty interesting stories, and that's awesome. But in terms of what your business does, the size your business is, we already have a pretty good understanding of the vehicle, the mowers, that sort of gear.
Yeah.
But you've grown it from when you started. Now you've got employees, subcontractor, I think you mentioned as well. So,
yeah, subcontractors, yeah.
So how many people do you have working with you regularly?
I have Jess working with me every day because she's the absolute best. And then every now and then I'll have another bloke, Bailey. So Hayley and Bailey mowing on the daily. And Jamie will come help too. But generally, most of my jobs are just residential. Although, as I was saying earlier today, I have picked up a commercial property. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of fidget on here.
That's all right. Yeah, that's all right. I need to move around too. I've got a little fidget I play with here too, so it's all good.
Yeah, I got my scrunchie. I've just picked up a... Oh, sorry, you go.
So most of the jobs you do, you were saying are residential. What do those jobs look like? I know we've talked about a couple of different things. So is the majority of your work mowing, or is it a mix between mowing and gardening, 50-50?
It's a mix between mowing and gardening, probably 3/4 mowing, quarter gardening. I do hedging as well. Pardon me. I do pressure washing. I've got a really good pressure washer.
Okay,
but the demand for pressure washing just isn't really there at the moment. I think a lot of people enjoy doing it.
I bought a 13 horsepower Honda powered pressure washer when I was doing a lot of residential work, and I'd done a couple of smaller pressure cleaning jobs, and I was like, all right, this way I can take on cleaning driveways and footpaths a lot quicker, make it more viable, and I have not used it.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing residential work now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I bought it, and I'd tell friends, if you want to borrow a pressure washer, I bought this thing. It goes well.
Yeah, I think mine made enough to pay for itself, and then it largely sits in the carport, or friends will borrow it pretty much, but it's not.
Yeah.
I think unless you do graffiti removal or something like that, like a graffiti removal course, I think largely, because the pressure washers, just the electric cartridges, they're so financially, they're so accessible, just like $100 and some bucks from Bunnings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are happy to do it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. But most of my jobs are just little residential, like hour here, couple hours there. I'll do maybe between 4 and 8 jobs a day, just local. I've tried to organise the runs to be pretty tight.
Yeah. So you're not doing 10-minute jobs, 15-minute jobs. Most of your jobs are an hour or two.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah. Nice. So like, for instance, that big hedging job was 5 hours and I hated every second of it. Today was 10 hours for this this commercial company contract that I've just landed. I did a massive site cleanup on there about 3 months ago. It was about 30 cubic meters of green waste that I cleared off the property. It's
huge.
It was chaos. And then I quoted them the maintenance and said, hey, if you want to keep it like this, I need to come back at least fortnightly, if not weekly, to achieve what you guys want, which is compared to the factory that's across the road. And I haven't heard from them in 3 months. And so 99% of the work that we did 3 months ago is now undone.
This is why I started giving people 3 quotes. So particularly with residential jobs, but small commercial jobs as well, it's worth doing this and just going, okay, you're going to pick one of these 3 quotes more likely than you're going to go and ask somebody else for a quote, because I'm giving you 3 quotes, so you don't need to shop around.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing is going, okay, the absolute bare minimum quote that I'm going to give you is what I'm happy to do to have you as a customer, but it is the bare minimum I'm happy to do. So
Right.
if it's just lawn mowing, that's going to be fortnightly cuts for 20 cuts a year. That is my bare minimum. That's a C grade customer.
Yeah.
And then
so that's your Temu.
B grade customer is where I want them to land, not in Temu land.
Yeah, no, we don't like the Temus. It's soul destroying, you know. You rock up and you're like, oh, it sucks.
Everyone has to do it sometime, right? Like you might value having a nice lawn, but you might not care about your garden lights. So Temu the garden lights, but make sure that you've got good quality lawn.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what I'm saying. Like the worst possible job I'm willing to take on is a C grade customer. If they want less than fortnightly, sorry, it's not for me. And then
Gotcha.
B grade customer is where they want it kept tidy and they're willing to spend a little bit more. And then A grade is where no expense spared. We want it to look like a golf course.
Yeah. So most of mine are D, C, and B. I've got one A grade customer, but she rang me 7 times on Friday.
Yeah.
On the 7th time, I was like, hey, you called me 7 times today. You're a stalker. What could you possibly want from me? I didn't even talk to my mum that much, but she loves it.
Nice.
I have a really honest and like a bit of back and forth banter with my customers. We're pretty close, most of them, because I see them more than my family.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're back to structuring of customers.
So what I've found is if you give them those 3 prices, what you're essentially saying to them is you can fit into one of these 3 categories. Do you want to be my worst customer? Do you want to be my pain in the butt but absolutely awesome customer, or do you want to fit in the mold of being a B customer, and that's what I want everyone to be?
Yeah.
And that way, most people, they don't want to be that customer that's a pain in the butt. So unless they're so particular they're happy to pay to be an A-grade customer, they don't want to be a pain in the butt. So if you're talking somebody who's like, yeah, we'll get you in, and then they ghost you for 3 months and then get you back again, that's where you throw that line at them. So where do we fit? Do we fit? No, we don't fit. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then you can say, well, you know what? When you do call me back, there's going to be a massive surcharge, and we're going to line you up to fit you into B grade after you come back.
Okay. Yeah, see, this is all gold to me, because at the moment I'm just sort of selling myself quite short and jumping through hoops for the E grade customers, you know.
Yeah, it's
the
tough.
ones
and I've done it.
But I have learned not to prioritize those customers. So if I am fully booked for the week and D grade customer rings up that I haven't heard from in 3 months over the whole summer, and they're like, oh, hey, can you fit me in the next 2 days? Like, no, actually, no, I can't. I cannot tame your Jumanji.
Yeah.
You've had months.
Don't you love it when they're an E-grade customer and they're like, oh, my daughter's turning 18 and we want the place to look absolutely awesome, and they haven't spoken to you for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I can't make your daughter happy.
Well, actually, I had that D-grade customer contact me and ask me to do her hedges for the daughter's 18th. And I was like, duh, okay, I'll move heaven and earth for you to not pay that freaking invoice. Like, sure, I'll torture myself in the sun for 5 hours. Although, you know, my worker and I, Jess, we took turns. One was in the ute, slowly creeping the ute forward, while the other one was on the tray, hedging in the sun. And I like to pretend that I'm a bit of a badass, just, slave driver sitting in the aircon while I make the young one work. But no, we took it in turns.
Yep. Yeah, but this is another tool I use in line with that 3-quote tool. If the customer's a little bit on the painful side, so that either end of the spectrum they're painful, here's my Square credit card reader. You want work done? You swipe your credit card there, and then we do the work.
Gotcha. See, I made the mistake of charging this customer hourly too, which is, again, golden rule. Don't do it hourly, egg face.
There are customers where hourly actually makes sense. So they're there is a place for it. But yes, you are 100% right. Then particularly when that customer's got red flags. No, absolutely not.
I think it was just like I didn't have a heck of a lot on that day, and I do like big invoices.
Yeah.
So it's my husband's 40th in a couple of weeks, and we're going to go away for the weekend, and I would like to do something fancy for him because he is the most supportive, best husband, honestly.
Yeah.
When I told him I wanted to start up Grass Queen, he was encouraging me for years beforehand. He goes, you should. I'd come home from work ranting about the knuckle draggers that I've been working with, or the personality clashes or whatever, and he'd say to me all the time, you should just start your own business. I was like, oh no, I can't. No, I'm too crazy. It's too hard. And then when I told him I was doing it, he was just saying, frickin' finally.
That's great.
So I'm trying to bust out these big jobs so I can spoil him for his 40th.
Yeah, nice. Exciting times.
Yeah.
So continuing to try and give people a good picture of your business, we've talked about how many staff you've got on, a lot of staffing issues we've talked around, and some of the quoting issues. A lot of people listening to my podcast, they want to understand how you fit in with the average lawn mowing and gardening business. So we're going to ask you the more challenging questions about how you charge customers. So, and you've already said you feel the need to change this and change some of your customers, get rid of some of the e-customers, all those sorts of things. So people need to keep that in mind when we're talking about this. But if you're talking about a person working out there and you're quoting and you say, want to avoid quoting hourly, yes, get that. But at the end of the day, you can assess a business by going, okay, how much do you make a day or a week or a month or a year?
What?
So feel free to tell me you don't want to talk about it or use
No,
numbers.
I want to talk about it. Honestly, I've barely tracked that. I am
one of the easy
very
ones,
avoidant.
One of the easy ones to track is to go, okay, if we've got two people on a job for a day, we plan on making $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever number you have in your head. That's a really easy one for people to gauge. Generally,
with me and Jess, I'll try for if I'm going around the $600-700 mark, then that's good, and that's probably a standard 2-person day.
Yeah.
I actually worked on Saturday. I did 2 jobs and I made $500, which was quite nice.
Yeah. Lovely.
Today I made about $2,000.
Yep. Yeah.
Brag. Killing it. Yep. The big hedging job, we made, between the big hedging job and the 2 little crummy jobs beforehand, I think we made about $1,200 that day.
Yeah, nice.
So it depends on the job. I mean, any new customers, because my books are pretty much full, any new customers I get, I'll generally give them a higher price.
Yeah, of course.
So you
try and drop off the cheaper customers and bring in new customers that are better customers as you go, which is a good way to improve things.
Yeah. I'm also closing my borders sort of thing. When I first started, I've got one in Fairfield, and I love this guy. He is wonderful. He is 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
And there are no jobs on the way there
good.
and nothing on Well, a couple of weeks ago I went there. It was 2 hours to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm paying my worker.
Yep.
For those 2 hours there, an hour back, like that's 3 hours. The job cost me money.
That does.
And my absolute first customer ever, he's in North Richmond, so he's another like 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
He's way out in the sticks. And it was the first day I was there, and I was on the phone to Jenny, and I sent her my location because 5'1", never met this dude before.
Yep.
I'm a little tubby, friendly thing. So I sent Jenny my location because I thought I don't want to end up in Buffalo Bill's well putting lotion on my skin.
Yeah.
So I sent my location to Jenny and I said, if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, please come and get me. And he's like,
Yep.
this guy's actually so lovely. I had him painted so wrong, but you got to be careful.
But yeah, definitely. And
Can't be too careful.
Unfortunately, there's been some things go wrong in Australia recently, so you can never be too careful.
Yeah. Yeah. I make myself a not a very appealing target.
Well, that's one way to
After
do
the first couple hours, I smell really bad anyway. You don't want to get too close to me. It's all the polyester in my shirt.
Yeah, I've found I can't use Lynx deodorant anymore. It tends to react with me. So I'm like, you know what? The power of Lynx just doesn't work on me anymore.
Or maybe it works too well as a person repellent.
Yeah. I don't think I'll get Lynx on as a sponsor while ever I'm talking about them like this.
I'm sure you could get better sponsors.
I reckon Lynx should be a major sponsor for the lawn care industry.
I think Rexona Clinical.
Okay, yeah.
You know the Rexona Clinical? It's like the cream. Oh, man.
Yep.
That works really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about customers' pricing.
Yes. So when you're quoting,
Mm-hmm.
I know you're not going to give a customer an hourly rate most of the time, but where do you aim to quote?
So learning from LMCA and the podcast and other sort of small business, what's that word? Resources sort of things. I sort of aim around the 120 an hour.
Yeah. Awesome.
So being in the business now for as long as I have, one of the deficits I find with ADHD is that I get very time blind.
Yeah.
And I really struggle trying to figure out how long something's going to take.
Yeah.
Even though I've been in the business now or doing this kind of work for 4 years, I still really, really struggle to sort of quantify how long something's going to take. So that's probably my number one biggest challenge is looking at a job and then looking in my file of other jobs that I do and knowing how long it takes for those jobs to sort of compare it.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
It is hard. It's easy for some jobs where you know that a certain size lawn is going to take half an hour or an hour to do.
Oh, yeah, like the little new Lego lands or whatever. But if you're talking about like a big hedge reduction or
it's harder to
a giant corner block with garden beds and stepping stones and all of that rigmarole, then it's just like, I go a bit blank. And generally I'll do my quotes at the end of the day.
Yeah.
When I've been sweating and working and then I haven't been eating. And generally it's the first time customers see me and I'm actually quite intelligent, but you don't think that at the end of the day when I'm standing there and they go, so how much do you think that is? And it's just, I don't know. I'll come back to you.
What I've found really helpful there is to visualize in my head how much of a day I want to spend on that job. So if I go, I know that hedge, it's going to be done in half a day, hopefully less than half a day, then that's a $450 job for one person, right? That's because I would aim for around that $100 per hour per person. Yeah. So, it'd be like looking at it going, okay, if I can get it done in less than half a day, I might go less than $450, but $500 is probably good. If it's going to be particularly hard work, then maybe even more than $500, $500 plus GST or $600 for that job. And then that way you can go, okay, all right, I think this job might be done in 2 hours or 3 hours. And you can sort of break it down into how much of a day it's going to be. How many of those jobs can I fit into one day? If I'm going to be there all day, then price is going to be accordingly.
Yeah. I quite like the all-day jobs because there's not time being eaten up by driving. But at the same time, I like the driving that, because you get to have a sit and a break in between jobs. And also the all-day jobs, generally the customers aren't talking to you all day.
Yeah, that's right. You can get that
because
over and
I'm
done
so
with and get on with
friendly.
it.
Because I'm so friendly and I care about my customers. Like some
Yeah.
of them will try and talk to me for half an hour to an hour. And to
Hmm.
start with, I did sort of let that go on, which is bad on my
Well,
behalf.
if you're on your own, it's different to
It's
when you've got an
different.
employee sitting there.
I'm paying Jess. Like,
Yeah. Yep. That's
yeah.
it.
So
So
now
does
I generally will say, hey, we'll catch up really soon. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to cut you short, but, I've got to pay Jess and
yep.
time's money.
Yeah.
How about you
That's it.
text me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Luke Smith's been a big proponent of this, and I can see a lot of value, and I have done this with some customers as well. Yeah. Okay. This customer's a 40-minute job, but I expect that they're going to spend 15 minutes talking as well. So that's going to be quoted at an hour, not 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's generally what I do.
Then you don't feel guilty
The
talking.
chat is part, time is money. The chat is part of it. So I would put, the balance of like with my job anyway, about 75% tools and 25% talking.
Yep.
And I think that's why, again, why I'm very busy is because the word of mouth, people
Yep.
remember me. They've got some weird
Yeah.
loyalty to the little short goblin.
Yeah, they get value from that. They may not want to
Yeah,
pay for it, but they do get value from it. So that's part of how you factor in your business expenses is going, okay, part of the business expense is talking to customers.
it is. Last year was really hard. I had 3 customers whose husbands passed away within a month of each other,
Yeah, that's
and
hard to deal with too.
I really liked these blokes. I don't like many dudes. Pure honesty, I've had some,
Yeah,
but these guys were lovely, and
yeah.
within 1 month, all 3 of them passed away, and I saw them
Ouch.
more than I saw my own nan.
Yeah, yep.
So,
It's hard to lose customers like that.
100%, 100%, and you
Yeah,
don't realize how important they become as people. Like
yeah,
some ladies are really old and they don't see anyone for a whole
yeah,
fortnight except me.
yeah.
So I feel bad being like, okay, your grass is short. Bye, 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 bye. Oh, your granddaughter did what? No, no, no. Anyway, got to go. Bye, 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 bye. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you got to make time, and sometimes you got to go. Okay, we've got time, but we've only got 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's actually really good. And I need to start being a bit more
Yeah.
assertive with that.
I found, like I said, I don't do residential jobs now, but I found sometimes with customers like that, it's good to go and meet them at the door before you start. Hey, how you going? How's your week been? Now I've got to get the job done.
Yeah.
And that way you've done that. You've spent time talking to them, and yeah, some of them will still come out partway through the job and at the end of the job and try and talk to you again. But
And they'll have the cash in their hands and they're blah, 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 blah. And you're like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna,
yep, yep.
be like, oh dear, is that the time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's like
so
can't stop. Jess is getting hungry.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, man, that girl eats so much. I don't know. She eats more in a day than what I eat in a week, and she's so fit. She's
Yeah,
18.
yeah.
Yeah,
20 years younger than
yeah.
you.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know. I could be her
makes
mum.
makes a world of difference. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I think 2024 is the year of restructuring my pricing,
yeah,
restructuring my customer base.
yep.
There's been a lot of chat in the LMCA group about, getting upset about the cowboys that are charging 30, $40 a lawn. And I think that like that's fine if that's their business structure.
Yeah, there's a
For me,
place for
it's not
them.
sustainable.
I want those people working in the industry because I want to send them
100%.
work.
Yeah.
When I get
Yeah.
a
That
quote and
was
I
me
go,
with my Corolla because my
yeah,
running costs were pretty much zero.
yeah, I want to be able to go, hey, this job's not for me. I'll send it to Hayley, but not anymore.
Yeah, no,
send
I'm
it
sorry.
to the person down the street that you
I'm
don't
not the
want the
grass
job.
peasant. I'm the grass queen. Thank you.
And that's it. Well,
Yeah,
that's the point, right? Like you need to have somebody to send those jobs to when they're not right for you.
100%.
So
At
we
the
need,
moment, I'm sending them to Jamie because Jamie's just starting up
yeah,
and he's trying to get his name out in the business as well in the
yep,
industry. And I started out with cowboy jobs, $30, $40 slash and dash jobs, and now I do have a couple of B grades, and actually I've got 2 A grades, which is quite nice. They're my favourites.
I found when I was still doing residential, it was not a case of going, all right, I'm going to arrive at exactly where I want to be. It was a case of every time I'm working on the job, is this job where I want it to be? Do I need to review this customer? Should I drop this customer, or should I improve this customer to the point where I want to keep them? Or is this customer already so awesome that I don't need to change anything? I just need to maintain a good relationship. And that way you go, I can balance between keeping my books full and growing the better end of the business. And it's just a continual process rather than having arrived at any point in time.
That is such a valuable piece of advice there, and information. That's actually, I think everyone needs to hear that.
I did residential jobs for over 10 years, and some of those jobs I didn't put the price up for 5 years, and then it's like, okay, that customer went from a good customer to a C-grade customer. So now I'm going to introduce myself next time there. Hey, just letting you know, I haven't put your price up for quite a while. I'm going to have to put a bit of a price increase there to bring you in line with where you need to be to stay on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the posts in the LMCA group, if they drop off, then that makes room for someone else.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to just give them a smaller price increase every year, and that way it's not one big price increase. So you got to work out how that works for your business and make the right decision for yourself.
There's some old ladies that I'm doing their lawns for $50.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to reconcile in my head that these old ladies own their houses outright. And they are quite well off financially. They go on regular overseas holidays and are covered in gold. And I still give them a discount because it's that, I don't know, all heart, no brain.
So maybe that the customer that you need to approach next time you're there and just go, hey, just got to make sure that you're in line with one of these 3 options.
Yeah, I like the 3 options. That's really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you give them 3 options, they're less likely to go shopping elsewhere.
And if they do go shopping elsewhere, then that means that they're not even a C grade, and that's okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
I had an E grade customer that I converted to a B grade, actually, because she just would ring with 3 days notice. And it would be every 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and she has a very narrow window when I could see her, like time of day wise. And I always would jump through hoops to book her in.
Yeah.
But then I went through a stage where I was just completely chockers, dawn till dusk booked for 3 weeks. And she kept ringing me, and I said, I'm so sorry, I can't do this week. You might have to get someone else. And it turns out everyone else was really unreliable. And did a terrible job. And didn't do it the way that she liked it. And now instead of it being every 3 weeks with 3 days notice, it's every 10 days. Regular clockwork.
I had a customer like that, and they were a good payer, but they were terrible they would get me when they ring me. And so because of that, they weren't a C grade customer. Yeah. And I ended up not even offering them to upgrade to a B grade customer. It was just, sorry, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at me, I can't keep doing this. I can't work around your requirements. That's not acceptable for my business. So I gave them 2 or 3 other names to call. Yep. And they really wanted to keep me, but I wasn't going to give them a quote to come up into the business. It was like, no.
Yeah, when it's that restrictive, it's really tough, Yeah,
but that's the thing. The price was good. It was $80 for about 20 minutes work.
Yeah.
But
if you're only allowed to be there between 2:00 and 2:15, and that's really solid, like on every
with 3 days notice.
Yeah, exactly. And you think, that's not how the world works there, love.
for my business, that was not working at all. So I was like, okay, see you later.
My business is definitely not clockwork when it comes to time,
Yeah.
I can give you a vague quarter of the day. Early
Yeah.
morning, mid-morning, just after lunch, late afternoon. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Unless you're first. If you're first, then you're first.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
I would
after
highly
that,
recommend you look at using something like ServiceMate or Jobber or one of those scheduling apps to help you with that.
that's a great idea. I currently use Google Calendar
Yeah. Yeah.
and QuickBooks.
I did
I
that
started off, yeah.
I did that for a lot of time in my business. It was a spreadsheet and the Apple Calendar app, and that was how I scheduled everything. But
I
you
don't even
moved to
have a
one.
spreadsheet. I'm just free falling. Hey, like,
Yeah, you move to a scheduling app, and it helps to keep them all organized. It helps to organize your route density. There's a bunch of things that can save you time. They might cost you money. I think the average scheduling app is going to cost you between $15 and $100, maybe even $120 a month. But
right.
it will save you the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
I would guess with you that ServiceMate would cost you somewhere between $50 and $80 a month.
I would be happy to absorb that cost because that $50 is less than one job that I'd be losing because I'm driving from Cranbrook to Emu Plains and then back to Warrington and then out to St Mary's, my runs are pretty cooked. I had them very tight at one stage.
Did you know that Wright has several different mowers to suit different size properties and different types of work? They range from the cute 32 all the way up to the big 72-inch standard that Kyle loves. Well, all the Wright mowers are built to be used commercially, and they have some great design features to make sure they save your business time and money season after season. Wright have carefully selected each engine to ensure it is very capable yet fuel efficient for the work it's designed to do all day, every day. One of the features that got me over the line with Wright is the AeroCore deck. It's one of the best deck designs in Australia currently, clearing huge amounts of grass when side discharging, while still great for catching, and it mulches well with a variety of blades. I'm about to throw a set of gator blades on and will be sharing my experience for sure.
I think I got sick and then I got COVID and then now all the runs are just chaos again.
Yeah. If you go back through my archives, you'll listen to an episode that I did with ServiceMate, and we talked about the benefits of using that app. But there are quite a few different apps available that you could utilize, and some of them have features that other ones don't have. So ServiceMate's
I think that's actually in my queue actually. Sorry, itchy. I think that's actually in my queue, the ServiceMate one.
Yeah, ServiceMate's Australian, and I quite like the way they operate, but there are several reasons why you might not use them, one of them being that you have to be on an iPhone.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got an Android.
Yeah.
I've got a Samsung, and you couldn't pay me to go on an Apple. I tried, and it just feels like foreign alien technology.
They would literally pay you to use an iPhone. Like that, the feature they offered a lot of people, and I believe it's still an option you can choose, is if you go with them, then they actually drop the service cost to the amount of what it costs to replace your phone with an iPhone until the phone's paid for.
Don't tell me that. I'll just get an iPhone for my work phone. No, honestly, it makes me feel so awkward. I think it's the same way my mum feels because my mum's very Apple.
Yeah, fair enough.
It'd be the same way my mum feels when she grabs my phone and she just.
Yep.
It's like when you go from straight shaft to bent shaft. You're just like, what is this? Why is it spinning the wrong way?
Yep. Well, Jobber is probably a good alternative for you, and there's a few other ones around that are quite handy to have. So if you shop around or even ask on LMCA what other apps people use for scheduling or whatever, you'll find that there's quite a few to choose from.
Cool. So I've just made the change from Zoho Books to QuickBooks.
Yeah. Jobber prefers QuickBooks.
Yep.
So that might be a good match then.
If anybody's listening and they wanted a free piece of software that's for invoicing and reports and that sort of thing, I used Zoho. Have you heard of Zoho?
I haven't heard much about it at all, no.
So I started Grass Queen with Zoho. It's free.
Okay.
And it did all of the invoices, the quotes, the customer, like CRM,
Yeah.
like software sort of stuff. And also you can connect it with Stripe.
Yep.
And
For
so,
payments.
yeah, so I'd email the invoice to the customer and they just click pay now and
Yeah.
pay it that way. And I actually found my customers were paying a lot quicker when I had Stripe
Yep.
set up, but I don't know if you can set that up with QuickBooks or not. I don't think so.
You can probably use a Square credit card reader with QuickBooks maybe instead.
I should get that.
They will have options.
Yeah, I should get into something like that. I'm just a baby.
Yeah, it's worth looking at all these things because
Yeah,
even
bit of
though a lot
streamlining.
of them cost you something, a monthly fee or whatever it is, if you incorporate that monthly fee into your costs so that when you're quoting, you're allowing for that, then you end up better off. At the end of the day, it ends up with better cash flow and it ends up with more money in your bank instead of you chasing. Nothing worse than chasing a $6,000 job where you got to take time off earning money to go and chase money.
Yeah, I recently had to chase an $8,000 invoice.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do it.
It was so frustrating, but that's what, real estate.
Yep.
It was real
Yeah, real
estate.
estates can be real challenging to deal with.
Yeah. I had a real estate chase me down in the street and asked me to quote a job for him. And I went and had a look and mate, nah. On a scale of 1 to 10 of how much I wanted to do this job, I actually wanted to cry just looking at it. It was
Yeah.
buffalo in the front, kikuyu in the back, and it had grown up and then collapsed on itself and then grown up and collapsed on itself again. And it was probably 6-foot runners.
Yeah.
And he wanted it done. Well, he got me on the Thursday. He wanted it done by the weekend.
Yeah, there's not a price that you can put on that to make it worth it.
Well, I quoted him $2,500. Never heard from him again. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. That's how much I wanted. And I said to my offsider as well, I said to Jess, I'm like, mate, if you come and do this job with me on the Saturday, I will literally split it right down the middle with you. But yeah, he didn't pay $2,500.
Back in the day, I had a real estate agent ask me to quote a rental that had been vacated or they'd had to evict the tenant, and they asked me to quote on doing a clean out. And I went to the property, I walked through the house, I went back out to my car, and I called the real estate agent and I said, I'm spending half an hour pulling the fleas off my legs before I get back in my car.
Did you bill him for a new pair of shoes?
The fridge smells like it's got a dead body in it. There is no amount of money you can offer me.
The fleas alone.
Yeah. He's like, no. Just flat no.
How good does it feel walking away, like being able to walk away from a job? So
yeah,
I grew up in pretty fair poverty, and most of my young adult life was pretty poor. I was pretty poor. And before I started Grass Queen, I had 3 jobs. I was working 70-ish, probably more hours a week, 7 days a week, working my absolute ring off. I cannot tell you how good it feels to look at a job and just be like, nah, I don't want that. I will pay whatever this invoice is worth to not have to do that job. And that feels so good.
Yeah. Well, I think it's where you get to in business, isn't it? And that's the case of going, okay, if you were starting out tomorrow, would you take that job on? And even then I would hope you got some sorts of limits where you go, no.
I probably would have done that gross job starting out though, because no one else wanted to do it. You got that scarcity, no one else would want to do that body job. And like I've got a really, really good relationship with the skip company that I use.
Yeah.
You couldn't put that stinky stuff in a skip.
Yeah. Well, looking at that now, if I was to go back and get asked to quote on that job for the real estate agent again, it would be a case of going, okay, it's going to take a month to do that job because I'm going to get a pest control person to come in and spray the place before I step foot back on there. And then I've got to find somebody who's going to take that fridge because it's not something I'm touching.
No, you'd want to tape that all the way up and call a priest with some holy water and a flamethrower and
yeah, send it to the morgue and put it through the incinerator.
Yep, gotcha. Yeah, launch it into space.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to I've got limits. I really don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, that looks like a big pile of nope for me. I will just nope on out of that. I actually asked Jess, she came with me, my worker, to that big real estate job. And the look on her face, she looked like she was going to cry. I was like, all right, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
We'll charge them an F-off price.
Yep.
Something that's really rude.
Yep.
We've got the desperate tax. We've got the time limit tax, the emergency tax. We've got this house has been empty for over 2 years.
Yeah.
That house had been empty for over 2 years. If this person can afford to have a house empty for over 2 years, they can afford to pay a rude lawn mowing tax.
Yep.
They didn't want to. So win-win.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's on them.
Yeah.
Well, Hayley, we've been going for almost 2 hours.
I'm starting to feel it. I'm not going to lie. And it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, all good. Like I said, I get to that point in the interview where I start going, I'm yawning and my eyes are closing. But that's not the case. I just want to bring this around to the point where we wrap up with some good, valid points that people want to hear. So we've had valid information the whole way along, some nice stories. And we've given people a good insight into what your business looks like.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on that is worthwhile touching on before we finish up?
I was actually going to write a list of things that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't because I did 10 hours, but I think that might be it.
I think we've covered a fairly good amount, and we've given people really good insight into what it's like being Hayley, the grass queen.
It's chaos. I wanted Grass Tween to be a nod to the queer community as well because I have queer friends and family and I wanted it to be like just a secret little handshake, be like, yes, queen, it's the Grass Queen.
Yeah.
And I actually do have a few queer customers too, probably because of that.
Yeah, and I think it just takes that little bit of extra effort to make people feel comfortable, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all electrified meat sacks, so...
Yep. Yep, that's one way to view it.
When it all boils down to it.
Yep.
Yeah. Just hurtling through space.
I think it doesn't hurt to make people feel a little bit more comfortable and make it a little bit easier to transact with you and your business.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Hayley. I really appreciate it.
Ditto.
I think we've covered everything I want to cover, but I like to ask if you've got advice for people who are listening in terms of people who are thinking about following in your footsteps, starting a business, doing lawns and gardens and handyman jobs that you might do. Any advice that you've got for somebody who's started out or thinking about starting out?
Reach out to the LMCA group, the Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia.
Yeah.
It's the best brains trust,
Yep.
No place on the internet is without, their problematic characters, but for the very, very most part in the LMCA, people are there to just actually see you kick butt.
For sure.
If I can do it, anyone can do it. My background is so varied and I've got the hurricane brain. I've got this amazing disability where high temperatures can make me pass out and my joints dislocate. So, if I can do it and it can make me healthy, you can do it. Just do it. What do you got to lose,
Yeah.
Sign up for Uber Eats delivery. So if you have days where you're not making ends meet, just go do some food deliveries. Who cares?
It is great to have a fallback for somebody starting out, because you're going to have a seasonal job where it's not always flat out. So it's really good to have that fallback for at least your first season, if not a couple of winters to get you through.
100%. And like, reach out to your other local people, get to know your other local contractors, form some relationships with people in your area, because we're always happy to palm jobs off. You know, I lend my tools to people, which I shouldn't, but I do, you know, to my friends if they need them. And that's my advice, is just lean on your community and do it.
Well, thanks for joining me in the dungeon. It's been fantastic. Almost hit 2 hours.
Wow.
Just stay on the line while I stop the recording.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.